The ancient Mayan civilization developed in the Mesoamerican cultural area, which incorporates the area from northern Mexico southwards into Central America. Their contribution to human history is vast, and today we have a look at some very interesting facts that you may not have known about the Mayan culture. 27. Much to be discovered. Even though we have already discovered so much, experts believe that there is still so much more for us to discover. It wasn't until just a few years ago that we found the Maya pyramid, thought to be 1,000 years old, in the Mexican state of Chiapas. It was very well hidden in a natural hill. It measured at 246 feet, making it Mexico's tallest pyramid. Since then, a further 2 Maya cities have been discovered, cleverly hidden by thick vegetation. 26. Sticking around. Many are under the misconception that the Maya culture is no longer around, but that's the furthest thing from the truth. There are roughly 7 million Mayans still living in Mayan areas, with many still keeping a firm grasp on their ancient cultural heritage. 25. A little alternative. The Mayans can be thanked for many of our holistic healing practices we use today. One of the teachings they believed in was that the health of the body is directly linked to the health of the soul, and that is something we still believe in today. They used a lot of acupuncture, massage, and the power of prayer to heal, which many people firmly believe in today. 24. Beauty comes from within. The Mayans didn't agree with that though, and they would often change the features of their children to make them more beautiful. What they deemed as beautiful was a little alternative though, and from the time the Mayans were babies, they had boards pushed against their foreheads to flatten them. This was particularly evident with the upper classes. 23. Shark tale. Many linguists believe that the Mayan word shark is where the word shark derives from. XOC, pronounced shock, could include many aquatic toothy animals. 22. Not quite as expected. We've always been led to believe that the Mayan people were extremely peaceful people, but now with the advanced methods in deciphering their hieroglyphics, it's been discovered that they were a lot more violent than originally thought. The hieroglyphics have proven that they were fierce and warlike, very much like the Aztecs in the north. Seems like they participated in a lot of fighting. Massacres were a thing, and I hate to say it, but human sacrifices too. Some researchers believe that it was their violence that led to their downfall. 21. Speaking my love language. The Mayans were big into their chocolate, which almost makes up for the fact that they were more violent than we initially thought. It was the Olmecs of Mesoamerica that first figured out that cocoa or chocolate could be consumed, but it was the Mayans that realized the true wealth that is chocolate. In ancient ceramic Mayan vessels, traces of cocoa was discovered, dating back to 600 BCE. Mind you, it wasn't anything like our hot chocolate we indulge in today, but was mixed with water, honey, chili peppers, and cornmeal. It was usually consumed on special occasions and during rituals. 20. Reaching far and wide. The Maya civilization is not actually an empire, but rather a large number of city-states, extending from modern-day Mexico through Guatemala, including northern Belize and portions of Honduras and El Salvador. In its heyday, the Maya civilization included 40 cities and had a population of roughly 2 million. 19. Let's play ball. The Mayans loved to play a ball game called pits, which was played with a rubber ball. The size would vary depending on what they had available. Sometimes the ball could weigh as much as 20 pounds. Players had to maneuver the ball into hoops located on either side of the field without using their hands. The game would draw massive crowds to the event, and the losing team, besides being a bit glum, would usually be sacrificed. 18. Call the doctor. As we mentioned earlier, the Mayans are responsible for many of our holistic healing methods that we still use today. They believed that the mind, body, soul, religion, ritual, and science all went hand in hand. Medicine was only practiced by a select few who had an education. They were called shamans and would be the buffer between the physical world and the spiritual world. The shamans used to suture wounds with human hair, were able to reduce fractures, made prostheses from jade and turquoise, and used iron pyrite to fill teeth with. 17. The right way. The Maya people were responsible for developing an early writing system, which is thought to be the only written language in Mesoamerica around 500 BCE. It's unlike any other writing system and includes 800 distinct hieroglyphs. 16. A real sacrifice. So you already know that the Mayans were quite comfortable with human sacrifice, and many modern Mayans still believe in offering sacrifices. But before you panic, they're certainly not human ones anymore. They prefer to stick to animals like chickens, goats, or cows. In an essay written by M.H. Schuster, she explains the modern-day ritual as follows. An elderly woman had come with a shaman, bearing fresh eggs and a chicken. Egg in hand, the shaman traced the woman's body several times, praying aloud as he worked. He then broke the egg into a bowl, the pattern of its yolk revealing the affliction. With further incantations and offerings, the shaman transferred the illness to the chicken, which he then sacrificed by breaking its neck. 15. Take 2 and call me in the morning. The Mayans used to be regular users of painkillers and other hallucinogenic offerings during their religious rituals and during everyday life as well. Flora, such as peyote, some mushrooms, the morning glory plant, tobacco, and other wildlife was all used. Often the Mayas would ingest the medication as an enema for quicker absorption and stronger effects. 14. A little cross-eyed. We mentioned that the ancient Mayan babies were deemed more beautiful with their flat foreheads, and it seems the aspiration to be more beautiful didn't end there. Objects were often dangled in front of a baby's eyes to make them cross-eyed, which was deemed more desirable and was often found in nobility. 13. The world didn't end. You may remember that in 2012, many believed that the world would end because it was noted on the Mayan calendar. So what actually happened? The Mayan calendar system is a rather complicated one to figure out, and in a nutshell, the calendar reset on the 21st of December 2012. It didn't mean the world was going to end. Many believe now that the ancient Mayans believed it could have just been the indication of new beginnings. 12. Accidentprone. We can thank Tatiana Proskorikov for cracking the Mayan handwriting, which was purely accidental. She was struggling to find a job in her field, so to buy the time she began sketching for a curator at the Penn Museum in Philadelphia in the 1930s. Through this, she was invited on an expedition to a Maya site in Guatemala, and in her own right, despite no formal training, she became a Mayan expert. And she figured out that the hieroglyph that looked like an upended frog was a representation of birth, and that the glyph, resembling a toothache, was an indication of the date the new king took the throne. 11. Destroyed forever. In the mid-16th century, many of the writings of the Mayans were destroyed by a Spanish Franciscan monk named Diego de Landa. He ruined 40 codices, which is a book written on bark, as well as around 20,000 religious images. Only 4 codices were left intact. It was later written by de Landa. We found a large number of books in these characters, and as they contained nothing in which were not to be seen as superstition and lies of the devil, we burned them all, which they, the Maya, regretted to an amazing degree, and which caused them much affliction. 10. Let's toast. A popular drink among the Maya people was known as bolche. It was made in the hollow of a log or a canoe, and it contained water, honey, tree roots, and then the bark of the bolche tree. It was believed that by drinking this, you would get magical powers. It was banned by the Spanish colony, as they believed it was interfering in their plans to convert the Mayan people to Christianity. The Mayans were able to convince the Spanish that the drink held exceptional health benefits, and that people couldn't survive without drinking it, so they were once again allowed their magical drink of bolche. 9. Sweat it out. Saunas were important to the Mayan people, who believed in its purification process. They had many sweat baths that were made from stone walls and ceilings with a gap in the ceiling to allow the steam to escape. The sweat baths were thought to cure many conditions and heal the sick. Maya kings frequently used the saunas, as it made them feel refreshed and cleaner. 8. Written in the stars. The Maya were very keen on astronomy and kept detailed records of everything to do with the planets, stars, sun, and moon. They had accurate tables of when the eclipses occurred, the solstices, and all other celestial events. Their belief was that the planets, sun, and the moon was the gods moving between the heavens, the underworld, and earth. 7. We'll name him Monday. Mayan children received their names depending on what day of the week they were born. 6. Feeling a little blue. There's a vivid blue called Maya blue, which is associated with equally vivid memories. Human sacrifices were often painted with this Maya blue when they were offered to the rain god. The color is incredibly resilient and has survived for centuries on certain stone monuments despite the harsh conditions in the Mesoamerican jungles. 5. Good enough to eat. And thankfully, this has nothing to do with human sacrifice, but everything to do with tamales. They were made with masa, which is a corn dough, and on a number of ancient Maya glyphs, there are depictions of the tamale. 4. Crunch the numbers. The first time the digit 0 appeared was traced back to the ancient Sumerians around 5,000 years ago. However, the Mayans found the number by themselves around 4 AD. They used the digit as a placeholder in their calendars before realizing its use in major mathematical equations. Robert Kaplan from the Harvard University Mathematics Department says it's a most striking example of the 0 being devised wholly from scratch. 3. The beginning of the end. The actual cause of the collapse of the Mayan culture is still being speculated and debated, and from the 8th to the 9th century, there was a steady decline. Several reasons for the collapse have been brought forward, from overpopulation to peasant revolt, foreign invasion to key trade routes collapsing. There could have been disease, environmental disaster, and climate change. They could have overhunted, exhausted their agricultural potential, or they could have experienced a drought like no other. There are a plethora of possibilities, but which one is the truth is still open to debate. 2. A trade-off. The Mayans were known to trade extensively and had trade routes throughout modern-day Mexico and Central America. They used to trade 2 types of items. The first being prestige items, which included things that were coveted by others, like feathers, gold, and jade. And then there were subsistence items, which covered basic necessities, such as clothing, food, tools, and salt. 1. Cold turkey. It's believed that the Maya people could have been responsible for domesticating turkeys. They weren't just eaten, but their bones and feathers were used to create those prestige items we mentioned in our previous post. They made things like musical instruments, fans, and various tools. We hope you enjoyed today's video. Remember to leave a like and subscribe to our channel for more informative videos. Thanks for watching.